John Fenolio in the newsroom tracking the developments tonight. John.
Sure, and Micah, good evening to you. While President Trump took credit for the Pfizer vaccine, which was made without funding from the U.S., the Supreme Court was dealing his fraud claims a near fatal blow.
Tonight, the Supreme Court rejecting Pennsylvania Republicans' attempt to overturn President-elect Joe Biden's victory. The decision coming on the same day as the safe harbor deadline. That's the deadline for states to certify electoral votes.
We won in those swing states, and there was terrible things that went on.
But President Trump is still refusing to accept defeat, claiming the race was stolen from him. Claims that have been refuted by Attorney General William Barr, who declared last week the Justice Department found no evidence of widespread voter fraud. More than 30 Trump campaign lawsuits challenging the election results have been dropped or rejected by the courts for lack of evidence. And the nation's former cybersecurity and infrastructure security chief Christopher Krebs proclaimed last month the election was the most secure in American history. The president fired Krebs days later. The president taking a victory lap ahead of the FDA's expected approval of the first U.S. vaccine for the coronavirus.
Very few people thought that this was possible. It will end the pandemic.
But the pandemic is far from over. The U.S. surpassing 15 million COVID infections Tuesday. The nationwide death toll topping 286,000.
Last week, COVID-19 was the #1 cause of death in America.
President-elect Biden unveiling his pandemic response team, which includes California's Attorney General Javier Becerra to serve as Secretary of Health and Human Services, Dr. Vivek Murthy for Surgeon General, and Dr. Rochelle Walensky to head the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. He's also asked Dr. Anthony Fauci to continue on in his position as the country's top infectious disease expert.
I believe, as you do, that in the fight against this pandemic, we must lead with science.
In his first 100 days, the president-elect says he will sign an executive order for masks to be worn in all federal buildings, aim for 100 million vaccine doses to be administered to vulnerable Americans, and implement a plan to reopen schools.
I'm absolutely convinced that in 100 days we can change the course of the disease and change life in America for the better.
Today, an FDA panel gave a stellar review of the Pfizer vaccine, saying it's more than 90% effective across all ages, races, and health conditions, especially seniors. The FDA could grant final emergency approval by this weekend, with the first shots in the U.S. by next week. Shara, Micah, back to you.
All right, John, thank you. There is a